Clearview family, it is my privilege to bring you this week's Midweek Moment. And I know that by this point you have checked into your job, into your schedule, gone to your doctor's appointments, parenting your kids, getting all the things on your calendar done, and you wear many hats during the week. And I want to encourage you with this very simple word today, Colossians 3:23. Work willingly at whatever you do as though you are working for the Lord rather than for people. And the critical part is everyone goes, they read that verse and say, work willingly at whatever you do and do it as though you're doing it for the Lord. But I want to make sure we see that last part, which is rather than for people. Because here's the thing, if you do it for man, you're doing it for man's applause or approval. And so when somebody doesn't approve something, it can crush you if you're doing it for those reasons. And I'm even saying that in your workforce. And I know that you'll have a boss and your boss gives you an assignment and you need to accomplish that assignment. But what I want to share with you is your job is actually an act of worship unto the Lord, because the Lord's provided that to you, and then you make money from that to provide for your family. And so in that process, I want you to see that God has provided those places and those spaces to be a place of worship for you, and everything that you do, whether it's as a parent, as a coach, as a teacher, as an employee, as an employer, as somebody who's retired and kicking back, which everybody tells me when you retire, you work harder. So wherever you fall in line with your schedule, at the end of the day, everybody has a calendar, and everybody that's alive today has a schedule for their day. Everything that you do, work willingly as though you're doing it for the Lord and not for people, because when you do it for the Lord, it's sustainable and gratifying. Even when you make mistakes, what people have assigned to you, it's okay, because you're doing it as an act of worship unto the Lord. Let me put it to you this way. Happiness, everyone's like, oh, I'm going to pursue happiness. But happiness is based off of happenings. Your happiness is determined by external circumstances rather than inward declaration and stability. But joy comes from Jesus. So if I work willingly as though everything I'm doing is for the Lord and not for people, when people get upset with me or they do something or they say something, guess what? It doesn't have to steal my joy, because my joy is rooted in Jesus. But if I'm pursuing happiness and the pleasing of others, when they're not pleased with me, I can get down, I can be frustrated, I can be upset. And here's the thing, Colossians 3:23 points to the fact that you and I are not here on the earth to please man, but rather to please God. So we do everything as though we're doing it for the Lord. Our joy is found in Jesus. So no matter how anything externally works out for us, we can have joy in those situations because it's rooted in Jesus and not in our situation or our circumstance or our schedule. But if we're working and living and doing everything that we do, all the hats that we wear, if we're putting them on and doing them for people, then the reality is when somebody's not too pleased with us, it can wreck our day. It can shift our perspective. And I don't know about you, if you've ever let that happen to you, you've walked into a moment where it has, we'll say, steals our joy, but honestly, it can't steal our joy. We can only forfeit our joy. What it's done is it's taken our happiness, because happiness are based on happenings, and it takes our happiness, and then what happens? We take that work hat off and something happens at work and we put on our husband hat or our wife hat or our parent hat, but we also carry that frustration because it was happiness and not joy. If it's joy, it's rooted in Jesus, and when we take that hat off, guess what? That frustration leaves us because that was not happiness, it's joy, and that joy stays with us. And when we put our parent hat on, we can remain joyful no matter what, because when we walk into that role, or when we walk into a different role, teacher, coach, whatever hat you might wear in the day, and you take it off, that situation with that person is done, and now you can move forward and not let it impact the other hats that you wear. So I want to challenge you, I want to encourage you, I want to build you up today with the midweek moment of do everything as though you're doing it for the Lord and not for people, because when you do it for the Lord, it's an act of worship, and your joy remains steadfast because Jesus is steadfast.